Welcome back to the Broto Fantasy Football Podcast presented by BrotoFantasy.com. I am your host, Tim Petrop, with my brothers, the only two twins that give you double that fantasy goodness, Michael and Jason Petrop. Well, yippee-ki-yay. Today we got them Cowboys.
You shoot that gun at me, partner.
America's team.
America's team.
And we are here. Of course, I'm your host, Tim Petrop, with my brothers to my right.
America's Michael.
Mike Petrop. To my left, Jason Petrop. Let's start off with the coaching outlook, and this one's going to go short. The same regime is in place. The Jason Garrett type of system where they're going to rely heavily on the running game and every once in a while hit a big play action pass. So with that being said, let's go first to the quarterback position. Dak Prescott is in his free agency year. He wants a big contract. He has his number one weapon on the outside in Amari Cooper. Michael Gallup is in his second year. Right now, Zeke on a holdout, but we'll talk about that in a second. What do you see about Dak Prescott say that Zeke does not hold out and comes back?
I mean, Dak is the perennially underrated QB1. Did I say Zach? Dak. I mean,
we have a little cousin, Zach.
I feel like he's going to be QB 9 to 14 at some point this season. If you look at what he did last year, his first 8 games, 1,660 yards and 10 touchdowns. And then Amari Cooper came around week 8, right? Last 8 games, 2,225 yards and 12 touchdowns. The touchdowns went up by 2, but the yards went up by 600. I think that's the difference that Cooper brings. Dak Prescott's someone you could tell when he's playing with confidence and when he's not. And I think with Cooper on the outside through the offseason, James Witten is not going to be useful this year, but as his safety blanket, just another familiar face. I think he'll have Zeke. If he runs a little more, he started to run a little bit more at the end of the year. His yards will pop up a little bit, even if his touchdowns aren't super high. He's going to be a back-end QB1.
Yeah. A little low true throw value. He was 23rd on the season, but 19th the last 4 weeks. That's with Amari Cooper, obviously, so there was an increase, albeit not a very large increase. But, I mean, he also has his legs. 300 rushing yards last season, 6 rushing touchdowns. He always gets at least 5 rushing touchdowns. At the goal line, he likes to run it in a lot. So, I mean, that's just a plus. And, yeah, like Jason said, he's literally been a top 12 QB every season he's been in the league. So, if you want Dak, he's also a solid best ball guy. Because he has those games where he rushes for 2 touchdowns or he throws for 300 yards, and then he'll have the mediocre games. But Dak Prescott, either way, he's a decent low-end QB1 being drafted outside the top 12 basically everywhere.
Jason, let's go to you for running backs. Ezekiel Elliott right now, unsure if he's going to play. It looks good at the time of this recording. We can't give you a definition. We can't give you a certainty. But let's talk about if he does play. Is he the number 1 pick?
He is the definition and certainty. If he plays, when Cooper came over last year, he was involved in the passing game more, and that was really the only knock against him, that he wasn't involved in the passing game much.
Yeah.
So with Cooper on the outside, Dak playing a little bit more confidently, Zeke getting the ball a little bit more through the air, he's the number 1 guy. I like him as my number 1.
Zeke had 77 receptions last season.
It's a lot.
Like, when they said they were going to get him the ball more receiving-wise, they were not lying.
No.
567 yards. Decent pass-catching work for running back as well. And the thing is, he scored 9 touchdowns last season. That's room for way more. Yeah, that's low. I would not be surprised if he averages a touchdown a game and gets up to 16 touchdowns this season. So, yeah, in the beginning of the offseason, I had Saquon as my number 1. I'm leaning more towards Zeke as long as he comes out of this holdout.
He will.
So Zeke is obviously a one-man band, but it looks like Darius Jackson is going to be the running back unless there's a free agent signing if Zeke leaves. So let's talk about Darius Jackson a little bit. Are you trying to handcuff Zeke with Darius Jackson, or are you trying to draft him as a handcuff late?
You just gave away my injury away, but okay. I mean, he's an 87th percentile spark athlete. He's a pretty darn good one, and there isn't really much competition behind him. If I'm going to take a bet on any of the guys behind Zeke on the depth chart, Darius Jackson is the guy I want. That's why I had him outlined to begin with.
I mean, you got Tony Pollard there too.
Yeah, but I think Jackson's a better runner than Pollard.
But Mike Weber as well. It's gonna be
Tony Pollard was just drafted though.
If Zeke doesn't play, then watch preseason, because there's no way the Cowboys are gonna go into this season without seeing what their guys got if Zeke's not playing.
We're actually forgetting that they also just signed Alfred Morris.
True, they did just sign Alfred
Who's probably
Morris.
going to be the main back if Zeke doesn't play.
And if not, I think Tony Pollard has a decent shot at being the pass catching back.
Of the young guys, I'd prefer Darius Jackson.
Interesting. I think I'd kind of prefer Pollard at this point.
It's gonna be a running back by committee there. I think if Zeke leaves, because he does so many things. Like Pollard's gonna have to catch the passes, and then either Alfred Morris or Darius Jackson. But they've been through that Alfred Morris train before.
Yeah, 20 carries, 80 yards.
Right, and they know the cap. So
Hopefully
if Darius Jackson shows out, he's an 87th percentile Spark athlete. Could be him. Keep an eye on that in camp. I mean in the preseason. Wide receiver, Amari Cooper came over. I like to call him Amari Nooper in a brand new situation. Brand new last year. There's a
brand Nooper situation.
Brand Nooper situation. So, Michael, let me ask you this question first. Is Amari more like Cooper or more like Nooper this season?
I say he never really changed. Yes, he had bigger games with the Cowboys, but the inconsistencies were absolutely still there. If you look on the surface, the numbers with Prescott is great, the 9 games with the Cowboys. But 4 times he put up single digits. 4 of 9 games, single-digit fantasy points is not good. 15 times. Under 15 points.
There it is.
7 times. So 2 games where he had over 15 half PPR fantasy points. And those are the 2 games, of course, where he went absolutely bonkers and scored like 30 and 40. But in seasonal redraft leagues, what the other 7 weeks, this guy you're taking in the 3rd round is getting you 15 points or less.
I want no part of Amari Cooper, whether he's new or coup or do or he's doo-doo.
So I
don't want no part of
in
Amari
best
Cooper.
ball leagues, I like him as a better pick. But in weekly redraft leagues, and I also think he has an offseason now to work with Prescott, so the inconsistencies might go a little bit away, not as much. But, I mean, as of now, everything that we know about Amari Cooper still stands true.
Look, would you want, because his ADP right now is wide receiver 13, so basically a wide receiver 1. Would you draft a wide receiver 1 if I told you his career high in touchdowns was 7? He never passed 1,100 yards receiving, and his most catches ever in a season is 75.
Ugh, those are gross, man.
These are,
And like
Amari
we just
Cooper
said,
is a giant myth. He's always been a giant myth. It's just that he's going to have, I have him as my wide
myth.
receiver. He is. I have him as my wide receiver.
He's like Bryce Harper.
17 at the moment, because you know what's going to happen? He's going to have at least 4 games where he explodes. And at the end of the season, he's going to have decent numbers. He's going to be in the teens, probably high teens, when you look at where he is at the end of the year. But is it going to be beneficial to your team? Is that someone you want as your first receiver?
like I was just saying, with Dak Prescott, his true throw value is 19th with Cooper there. So it's not like Dak's targets are worth a whole lot. Like they're average targets.
Let's talk about Dak's targets, because a lot of people like Michael Gallup this year. He's someone that's creeping off draft boards. Randall Cobb is going to be in the slot. Tavon Austin was re-signed. So there's a couple guys. Devin Smith is on this team. Cool.
Yeah, former Jet great.
I mean, if he's healthy, he's got lightning speed that made him a 2nd-round pick.
Yeah, maybe.
I mean, it's a lot.
Come on now.
I'm just saying, is there any other person on this team that you're drafting?
Yeah, Gallup is like gaining steam as a sleeper pick.
Yes.
No. The Cowboys could use a decent number 2. He did have double digits 2 of the last 4 weeks, but I'd rather take a shot elsewhere, personally.
Yeah, it's not that Gallup's a bad player or anything. Just I don't trust that offense. It's not the passing volume.
Same
won't
goes
be
for
there.
Cobb.
The value of Dak's target isn't there. When Amari Cooper vanishes, it's not because Gallup explodes. It's just that's how the offense rolls.
I remember this is preseason, so a guy like Gallup there's a chance that he could catch on. He's a 2nd-year receiver. He does a lot of things. He has a lot of tools. But you're not drafting him because that's not the type of guy you want to draft.
Well, he's being drafted. Not too far.
Not for me, at least. I mean, if you want to draft him in like the 11th, 12th round, all right, fine.
I'd still rather take a shot on someone else. I don't think Gallup's going to be enough this season.
If it's like the 14th round, but I don't really want to reach higher than that.
From the mythical land of the booth, where he was the greatest announcer of all time, to tight end, where he struggles. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. I fucked that up. Jason Witten
maybe in an alternate
is back.
universe.
They say him and Blake Jarwin are going to split the receptions at tight end. I don't want either of them. Jason Witten wasn't even a good fantasy option when he was great.
Yeah, he was.
Why are we even wasting time talking about
He was
him?
a good fantasy option.
He was never
in
a
his best
touchdown
years.
guy, though. He was never like a top-tier guy.
We've already spent too long talking about Jason Witten.
He did
It's
go
over.
550-5 his last season playing, which is better than nothing.
I mean, it's
That's like a mid-tight end 2 range. So I think he has a chance to be like
Tight
a
end
low-end
two.
tight end 2. But
tight end, too.
Oh,
That's
you're
about
getting
it.
crazy.
So he's going to be in the
that's
middle.
my opinion.
So he's going to be right in the middle of the tight ends that you're not going to be in your team.
Yep.
Is what you're saying.
Absolutely.
All right, great. One injury away, Jason.
Darius Jackson.
Darius
As
Jackson. We
mentioned
talked
earlier.
I
about
went
that.
Tony Pollard, the other running back.
I mean, I went Darius Jackson, but I'm changing
Maybe
it.
Alfred Morris.
I'm
now.
changing it to Alfred Morris.
There you
because,
go. We each chose a running
because we
back.
each chose a different running back because that shows you what they're going to do when they don't have Zeke. Honestly,
Well,
we don't
Morris is probably the guy if they don't have Zeke. But
Yeah.
injury away, I'm assuming that there's an injury there to Morris while Zeke is out. Boom. I'm going on 3 levels here.
know. Watch the preseason for that.
You're going loco.
To watch this, you could see Broto on YouTube, youtube.com/Broto Fantasy. You can find Michael at
Mike_Petrop.
Jason.
Jason Petrop.
You can find me on all social media outlets at Tim Petrop, but only if you're feeling real frisky. BrotoFantasy.com for all your Broto needs. Patreon.com/Broto. Please come and support the show. We could use everything we can get. What else? There's the Instagram at Broto Fantasy. There's the Twitter at Broto Fantasy. Facebook, Broto Fantasy. YouTube.com/Broto Fantasy. Everything Broto Fantasy. Until tomorrow, we'll see you
Later.
Peace.